I've built a few Gauge 1 live steam locomotives so far. This is the next one I'm going to build, and it's going to be scratch built and it's going to be live steam, and I hope you find the series of following videos interesting to watch. Hello and welcome to part 28 of the Gauge 1 GWR Prairie tank scratch build. And we've got our piece of metal ready for the next job that we're going to do, and that's going to be for the tender pump. This is the pump. This is a hand pump that will fit in the tender here, and this will be used to fill the boiler. It's a very simple arrangement, very like the axle pump, that's sitting there, except it's going to be a little bit bigger. See, I don't know whether you can see that we've got the axle pump that fits in there. Turn it upside down, you might be able to see a little bit better. There's a little cylinder and a piston that goes backwards and forwards. Well, the pump in the tank is going to be very, very similar. And what we have is we basically have a cylinder, have a piston or a ram goes in there, and a little arrangement to hook it up to. There's a bracket on there and some linkage. Some linkage fits on here. That's anchored onto there. That fits on there. There's a linkage there. And the idea is you move this handle backwards and forwards, and this piston goes backwards and forwards inside the cylinder. And on here you've got the output. That goes off to the boiler, and that's the water that's coming in the bottom of the tank. And what you have in here is a valve arrangement. This is this thing here. So it's shaped something like that, and this is interconnected there, and there's a little inlet there, and that is actually that there. That's a cross section. And then you have our banjo either end, and a little screw that goes down. And the main part of it is you've got a ball in here, ball this end, and you have a ball sitting this end. And as it moves, as you move the piston either end, these balls act as valves, so when you're sucking in, you're taking in water. When you push the other way, this one drops down and this one lifts up and water flows out. And you'll see a little bit more of that, how that works as we go on. But what I shall do now, I shall set to on the lathe and make the parts. I'm going to start by making the cylinder first, so we'll crack on and make that. Turning the main cylinder is a simple process. You've seen me do similar things like this before, where you drill it and ream it to get the hole ready for the bore. First part done. The main cylinder completed for the pump, and that's all trimmed to length and that's reamed. What I've done initially is just drilled these two holes to the depth required. Now what we've got to put on now is a flat. This has got to be a flat bottom. Okay, here's where we are so far. I've completed the other part, which is, if you like, the valve part. So that's the main piston and part of the, if you like, the valve body. What I have to do now is, sorry, that's the main cylinder. That's the main cylinder. I'm going to make the piston next. So we'll make the piston next, which is a pretty straightforward looking thing, which will just fit in here. And I will make a little, if you like, coupling to fix that on there, that will be silver soldered on. So that's the next thing we will do. As you can see, I've silver soldered on the little coupling joint, if you will want to call it that. The little coupling joint on there, and a little hole on there, and we've left a little stub on the end, and that little stub will fit on the body of, if you like, the valve part of the pump. Right, there's our two components, well, three components really, all silver soldered together. Got the main cylinder, we've got this will take the valves, and the little connection piece there. They're all silver soldered together. As you'd imagine, the piston is a very simple affair. Because we've reamed that out to 1/4 inch, just take a little 1/4 inch diameter piece of brass bar, good little polish, and that fits nice. What I also do, I also put in a rubber O-ring as a seal, because although this is a nice fit at the moment, this will very quickly start to wear, because you've got metal on metal, brass on brass, and constantly running like that, you will eventually get some wear on here. So we put an O-ring, put an O-ring on there. So I shall get my box of O-rings and start looking for one that's a reasonable fit, and that possibly might do. I just have to go through my stock and find a suitable O-ring that's going to fit this. I've found an O-ring that looks like it will do the job. What I did first is cut a little groove in the end of this piston to push the O-ring on. The O-ring's gripped now fairly, it's on and it's held, but obviously it's a little bit oversized now. So what I've got to do now is just really polish it down, just to reduce its overall diameter. Right, that's the O-ring fitted now, and that at the moment, just pulled it out there. You can just see it's in that groove, just sitting in there. And I'll just put a tiny little dab of oil just to slide that in. So the idea is it just slides in nice, and we've got a nice seal. That's quite stiff now, but that's okay. That will, a few times, that will run in. Yeah, that's alright. Here's the main components of the hand pump that will fit in the tanks, the side tanks, and there's the main body. And you saw me making that and a silver soldering it together. I've now put it in sort of like a frame, stood it in a frame really, and fitted drilled some mounting holes in that fits in, that lines up with this tank. So that's the main body of the pump. We've got the ram, and I've just fitted the linkage to it now as well. So that's the ram and the little seal there that goes on. I'll show you on that one there, there's the ram. And also this is the top valve that sits in, and there's some crosshairs, there's two crosses cut in there, because this acts as a valve, and there's little tiny ball that sits against that allows water back, but it won't allow water back down that way. So you can see there, you see that little ball there that creates the valve. So we drop that in, fit this onto here, and then the next job to do is to solder some copper piping on here to run this in, to run this out down into the axle pump. Just thought I'd show you in a little bit more detail the arrangements, what the tank looks like, so you can have a look in there, and the pipe that comes out, it's going to run down, and that's going to run down to the bottom of the axle pump. Give you another view there, so you're looking at the top of it, you can see how that runs down with our little pump there that works like so. So I'll fit this now onto the rest of the locomotive. All assembled now. When I say all assembled, just temporarily put back together, just to give myself a feel of how things are going together. And we've now got the tender pump fitted in, and we're all connected up, so let's put some water in and show you where we are. So we'll fill this up, and that starts to equalise onto the other side as well. That'll do there. Let's put some more in. That'll do for what we want. And we've got our little lever that I've mentioned a couple of times. So I'll fit that on, and we can start to pump. And there you can see it, water being delivered from this pipe here. This pipe is eventually going to connect to a clack valve that sits on the back of this boiler. So this pipe is just sitting there at the moment. What I need to do next is make a clack valve to connect that pipe to. So that's the tank plumbing done. And this is what we use to fill the boiler up. So there we are at the moment. That's as far as we got. I hope you liked this video. If you do, hit the subscribe button and the like button. And we'll see you again very soon for the next episode.